30-minute reviews, beware of spoilers, and exploring hyperspace lanes are all available ad-free. But if you want to support the show, you can go to bewareofspoilers.com and click the support button that's available on the Spotify website. Thank you. Good morning, and welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. I'm a little baffled by this new show. I'm not gung-ho about it in the way that I was like, the thing is, they're like, oh, it's a dark comedy. Okay, I can buy a dark... I was talking about The Regime, episode 1, which aired on HBO on Sunday, that I finally got around to watching today. And the thing is, it's like, oh, it's a dark comedy. Okay, I can live with a dark comedy. I like dark comedies. I'm not against that. It feels like it's trying to be Veep, which, for those of you who don't know, it starred Julia Louis-Dreyfus as the vice president, and then it had a bunch of great comedic situations that go along with this woman being the vice president and the staff around her, and it was a great show. And it's one of those things where it's like, as I'm watching this, I'm like, I can see it's trying to be funny, but it's also trying to be serious. So you get this weird tonal dissonance where it's like, it's really neither. Like, I don't know how serious to take anything that's happening on the screen. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. Like, I don't think that's necessarily something that we should be like, oh, this is an interesting way to tell a story. Like, not really, because it's like, I don't need to be handheld about how to feel about something. I don't need to be, I don't need the story to tell me exactly how I should feel. But I would like some consistency. Like, I would like to be able to be like, okay, so she got this guy that she's, pulled in and is now going to be working as her head of security, and alright, so, well, it's like, they're probably going to end up fucking. Like, this idea of, like, she likes having the power, and she's using the power, and she is this dictator in Central Europe, and it's, like, yeah, I don't know, it's like, it feels weird, because it doesn't feel like the right time to do a comedy about this, because it feels a little bit like, maybe this is a little bit too on the nose, I don't know how well that really works for a lot of people. Again, it's got that thing where it's like, and here's the issue, and I think we're going to run into this again next month when we talk about Civil War, the new movie with by Alex Garland, based purely on the map that they have for what the various factions of the United States are. It looks like it's trying to be an apolitical Civil War movie, which, like, okay, I get it. I like, you want to make it marketable, so you don't want to feel like you're attacking anyone, but at the same time, making it apolitical is not the way to go. And here we have kind of that same issue, where it's like, this feels apolitical in a way that's, like, not great. Like, what's the point of doing this if you're not going to, like, obviously they're taking the side anti-authoritarian and anti-dictator, but, like, that's such an easy thing that's an easy side to take. It's not like you're, I'm against dictatorships. Like, oh, goody for you. Who's for dictatorships besides the dictator and the people who are immediately benefiting from the dictatorship? Like, I don't think you'd find anyone who's just, casually pro-dictator. I mean, well, let's rephrase that. Who's going to come out and be like, I'm really pro-dictator, instead of just being like, I'm pro this guy who ends up being a dictator, or like, well, he says the right things, so we're not going to get into it. We know how I feel on the situation. But regardless, the point I'm trying to make is, what is the point of a show that is telling this story if it's not going to result in, just being like, oh, so here is, we're telling, what's the reason to tell this story? And after one episode, and I realize it's one episode, we can't really sit here and be like, oh, well, obviously that's one, that's going to be the entire thing. Like, after one episode, it's hard to tell what the point of this story is. Because it's like, I'm not sure where they're going. And for something that's, a limited series as of right now, which, if it starts winning Emmys, which Kate Winslet's fantastic, and I'll watch Kate Winslet in anything, like, once the Emmys start rolling in, does this go from limited series to, getting a second season? I don't know. But in a weird way, this feels like, I don't know about misguided is the right word, but it feels weird. It doesn't feel right. And that's a problem after one episode. After one episode, I should have a clear and concise view of what the creators' politics are. I should be able to tell you what the, where the plot's going and what the overall thing is. It's like, unless it's just going to be a character study about her, like, which, if it is, fine. But, let's see how that goes. I think the production design is great, though. And there's a lot of great visual storytelling in this show that I really appreciate. I do love the way they show, like, the, what's it called? The, the palace looks really cool, and like, all these sets that they're on look great. And I think, too, it's like Kate Winslet is doing a great job playing this unhinged dictator, which leads to comedic moments. And then it's like, that's the other thing, is that the only time they really delve into anything resembling real-world politics is when they deal with the journalist issue. They have this American journalist come in and ask questions, and is like, and he gets the husband, or someone in the administration, he gets him, and he's like, so you are imprisoning journalists. Like, that's the only thing that's really good. But again, that's something that's so far removed. And this goes back to what I was talking about the other day with the zone of interest, which feels weird to say, but in the episode about the zone of interest, I talk about how we have a weird relationship with fascism in America. We have a very strange, like, okay, so we know fascism is bad, but what is fascism? And to a lot of people, fascism is whatever the end is. Fascism is not the 70 little things that build up to, the arrival of like Nazi Germany. Like, it's all the little shit, too, that builds up to it. So, we don't look at that. We just look at, like, here's the end result. Here are the Nazis storming through, Europe and being like, and just taking control, and they're conquering just to be able to own the world. And it's like, yeah, okay, we get that, but, like, this didn't just happen. Like, the things led up to it, and again, it's people who do it. Like, and that was the real strength of the zone of interest, is that these are people. These are humans who have human lives, the same as anyone else. They just so happen to be carrying out war crimes and atrocities and trying to exterminate an entire race of people. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, because that works so well, we end up in a situation where we can look at all of these, like, it humanizes the perennial villains in American pop culture in a way that's uncomfortable for people. And it should be uncomfortable. Because for us, it's easy to say, like, well, like that's part of why it's like, anytime you compare someone to a Nazi, it's like, well, we're not Nazis. We're not, going through the streets, saluting. I mean, some people are, but, the average person is likely not. And it's like, they're not wrong. Like, no, they're not at that stage of Nazi. They're at the leading up stage of Nazi, the stage of Nazi that gets you to that point, where that's just acceptable and everyone's kind of just okay with that. And to that end, that's kind of my issue with this show, too. is that there's no nuance to it. There's no, let's look at what's going on here and be like, okay, so why did people vote for this person? Like, because that's what they said several times, that she won the landslide election. And it's like, okay, so what kind of happened here? Like, how did this happen? And all of that. Like, unless this is going to end up being, and I have a feeling it's going to be, because, you know, it's an election year and we have a presumptive Republican nominee, unless the point that they're trying to make is, like, don't just listen to this person, but they'd have to show a lot of flashbacks to that. Like, don't just listen to this person who's talking about, you know, they're, you know, doing what's right for you. And even then, they're going to, if they're doing it that way, based on this first episode, they're going to phrase it in a way where it could apply to anyone. And it's not taking a side. Which again, if you're making art with the intent to not make a statement, or to make a milquetoast statement, then that's not a good thing to do. There's like back in the day, I used to do on election day. I used to say, like, you know, just make sure you go out and vote no matter who you vote for. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, but at a certain point, people have to realize that you do have an opinion, and, you know, just saying go out and vote is not a great thing. It's like you should, you know, you shouldn't be afraid to take a side. So, you know, I don't anymore. I'm not afraid to. I just take a side. But regardless, herein lies the issue with this show. I don't know, like, if you're gonna do a show about a fascist regime, I need to know where the politics of the creator lies within this first episode. I should know what the writer's thinking in this kind of thing. Because you're making a political show without being political, and that's a little bit weird. And a little bit, not unsettling, but a little bit like you're wasting our time. Like, it's just kind of odd. I'm not sure why you would do that. Like, even Hogan's Heroes, it was pretty clear that they thought the Nazis were bad. Even if they did infantilize them to a degree that's probably dangerous in the long run, it is one of those things where it's like, I don't know where whoever made this show stands. Which, maybe that was a studio mandate. I would not be surprised if it was, considering the current direction of Warner Brothers. Like, the fact that Dune came out and was distributed by Warner Brothers is nothing short of a miracle. Let's be real about that. Like, the fact that we got that movie in the form we did is miraculous. But at the same time, it's like, I think that we do have a fundamental issue here, where it's just one of those things where it's like we don't, I don't know where, like, it's not that I don't know what to think, and that's the problem, like, because I need to be spoon-fed what to think. The problem is, I don't know, you know, I don't know where the story's going, or what the point of this is, and that's a problem. But we'll wrap up there for today. Tomorrow we have the Bad Batch, a new episode, so get ready for that. And I gotta look at the movie schedule, see what we're gonna do this weekend. But we'll see. We will see. And until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.